What would you do if you suddenly got a text claiming you'd been recruited by a powerful drug cartel and that the woman you were having an affair with was a mole who had to be eliminated? Would you believe it, or would you just brush it off as some twisted prank? For Nathaniel Huey Jr., these messages were all too real, pushing him down a dark path that would end in unimaginable tragedy. In September 2023, a devastating crime shook the quiet suburb of Romeoville, Illinois. A family of four, Zoraida Bartolomei, her husband, Alberto Roland, and their two young sons, even the family's three dogs, were found murdered in their home. As police began unraveling the case, they discovered it was not a random act of violence. It was all tied to an affair and a series of elaborate lies. The case took a dark turn, revealing a web of manipulation that left both the investigators and the community in complete shock. Welcome to Shall We Brew? Pour yourself a cup and settle in. I'm your host, Haley, and here we talk about true crime, bizarre mysteries, and deadly scandals, all while honoring the voices of the victims. We like to brew up the perfect blend of suspense, intrigue, and maybe even a few chills. Just a disclaimer, this episode mentions self-exiting, innocent children, and adults, also pets being unalived. If it's too much, please take care of yourself and skip this episode. I'll see you at the next one. I would also like to add, the story is insanely twisted. The details can be somewhat difficult to keep up with. So if anything needs any clarification, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to explain further. And also, if there's any updates that come out about the story, I will also be posting those. With that being said, get cozy, grab your favorite drink, and remember, once we start brewing, the truth can't be unsipped. On September 17th, 2023, around 8:43 p.m., the Romeoville Police Department were called to perform a welfare check at a home on the 500 block of Concord Avenue. One of the residents, Alberto, hadn't shown up for work that morning and he hadn't answered any calls, raising concern among the family members. One of their mothers called the police to do a wellness check. The house was eerily quiet, and through the windows, officers saw a horrifying scene. Overturned furniture, a table on the floor, and dead dogs lying in the disarray. With no response from the inside, the police forced their way into the home. What they found was horrifying. 4 family members. Zoraida, 32, her husband, Alberto, 38, and their 2 young sons, Adriel, 9, and Diego, 7, were dead, killed in what appeared to be an execution-style murder. To make matters worse, 3 family dogs had also been shot and unalived. The discovery shocked the quiet suburban neighborhood of Illinois and raised immediate questions. Who would commit such a horrific crime? Why an entire family? Quite a few commenters stated that they thought this was drug-related. As investigators began piecing together the case, they quickly learned this was not an ordinary home invasion. The deaths of Zoraida, Alberto, and their children were the result of a twisted and elaborate murder plot. One involving a secret affair, fake identities, and a deeply manipulated mind. At the center of it all was 32-year-old Nathaniel Huey Jr. Nathaniel had been having an affair with Zoraida. Some reports state they met while working together. I think maybe they worked together at the engineering company previously, like in previous years. But I cannot confirm exactly where they met each other, because by this time, Nathaniel owned his own security company called Black Bear Security that he had started in January of 2022. Ermelinda, age 50, had discovered Nathaniel's affair with Zoraida and didn't confront him about it in a typical manner. Or maybe she did and the affair just kept going. Anyways, who really knows? Instead, over the course of the years, she would create a series of fake online personas. These personas posing as members of Mexican and Bulgarian drug cartels, convincing Nathaniel that he was being watched and targeted. She made him believe that he was a member of this cartel and that he needed to follow their orders. Some of the roles established for various characters include organization bosses, shot callers, which, if you don't know, is a high-ranking person, someone who calls the shots or has the power. Other roles were hitmen and hackers. Some of the text posing as the cartel read on August 19th, "Hello, Bulgarian soldiers are going to put sugar and gas tank and spray redacted on your car, then cut all tires tonight when you leave. They will do the same for Zoraida car. They are going to take your wife tonight. Make preparations tonight." Then it says goodbye in Bulgarian, but I'm not going to attempt to even pronounce it. On August 21st, the text reads, "They will have wife gone by the end of the week. Then plan is to redacted one each week, unless you kill yourself." I think the redacted portion probably says something along the lines of murder or kill. She would also encourage Nathaniel to be faithful in his relationship, to stop speaking with other women, to treat Ermelinda nice, and to engage in sexual intimacy with Ermelinda. She used these personas to feed Nathaniel a series of lies and essentially just manipulate him, telling him that Zoraida was a mole within the organization, plotting against him. She even told him that Zoraida was going to attack him and his loved ones, framing the upcoming murders as a necessary counterattack. Nathaniel believed every word. He never suspected that it's his fiancée behind the online accounts. She was able to convince him that he was under constant surveillance by the organization. Over time, Ermelinda provided Nathaniel with specific instructions on how to carry out the murders, including details about the house's layout, the number of dogs inside, even possible cameras in the neighborhood. She even instructed him to spray paint the walls and cause damage to make it look like a burglary committed by neighborhood kids. In one chilling message, Ermelinda reassured Nathaniel by saying, "Many murders go unsolved." She also instructed him exactly how to carry out the killings, saying, "Move through, locate, and hit the 2 adults first." The next one reads, "Then 2 kids." Also, just hours before the incident, Zoraida was texting Nathaniel and telling him she loved him. In the early morning hours of September 16, 2023, surveillance video reportedly showed Ermelinda drive Nathaniel to the murder scene just shortly after 3 a.m. When the pair arrived, she stayed in the car while Nathaniel entered the house armed with a 9mm handgun. A gun that he was not supposed to have, by the way. A court document from 2017 states he was to refrain from possessing a firearm or other dangerous weapons. That order came after a history of several arrests, including battery, multiple DUIs, which includes an aggravated DUI in 2017. In the 2017 case, he had just spent at least 30 days in the county jail and then put on house arrest followed by probation for 2 years. Police also uncovered the security business he had. There was no license to operate in the state of Illinois. But that didn't stop him from posting on social media, where he publicly flaunted his arsenal of weapons and attempted to get people to hire his security company. Anyways, back to the crime. First, Nathaniel cut the screens on 2 windows. Then he enters the house through an unlocked door in the kitchen. Alberto, who had been woken up by the noise, came out to see what it was. Nathaniel fired shots, and Alberto ran towards the bedrooms where his wife and children were sleeping. Nathaniel shot Alberto multiple times, killing him before he could even reach his family. Nathaniel then moved to the bedroom where Zoraida and her 2 sons were. He fired shots through the door, striking Zoraida. After breaking into the room, Nathaniel shot Zoraida again, and then her 2 children. To complete the carnage, he shot the family's 3 dogs, 2 in the kitchen, and 1 in a bedroom. He shot them all a combined 20 times. The scene was gruesome. Nathaniel made an effort to cover his tracks. In an attempt to throw investigators off, he spray painted the walls, tables were overturned, a window was cracked, all in order to create the appearance of kids committing a senseless crime. After the murders, Nathaniel messaged one of Ermelinda's fake personas, expressing concern that he had forgotten to take the phones from Zoraida and Alberto. In response, Ermelinda reassured him, continuing to play the role of a cartel member and telling him not to worry. On September 18th, Nathaniel went to work just 1 day after the murders. Police go to work and they interview him. And this is where he agreed to let police take a DNA swab, but refused to let them look in his car. He didn't want them checking his vehicle because he had an entire bag of firearms in there, which, as we talked about earlier, he was not supposed to have. So he's like, no way. You can't check my car. I didn't do anything. He admits to his relationship with Zoraida, but denies any involvement in her killing. He also tells police he and Zoraida were taking it slow. Alberto was pretty easygoing, and it was just one of those things where she just wasn't happy. Which, take with a grain of salt. This guy is a murderer, after all. Later this day, he was also seen transferring a bag containing firearms from his Denali to another person. The police also show up to Ermelinda's home around 6:25 p.m. She comes out of the house and police immediately say, I know you know what's going on and you know why we're here, okay? They ask if she and her boyfriend, Nathaniel, live together, and she says yes. They ask how long they've been together, and she says 2015. Then they go on to say, we're investigating a murder. And I have to say, she looks like she's trying to play it cool, but really she's her pants a little bit. Anyways, she replies to the officer who murdered someone. They let her know they have some phones in their possession. They have done a phone dump and they have read the text messages, and it's pretty clear that somebody is upset at the victim. They ask her, is there any way that these text messages are going to come back to you or your name or your phone? And she just shakes her head no. However, once investigators continued to dig a little bit deeper into the case, by September 20th, the pieces really started to come together, and they identified Nathaniel and Ermelinda as the suspects. The two had made a plan to escape, but before leaving, they met up with Nathaniel's mother at a Target, where he confessed to his mother that he committed the murders, telling her that he did it because his own life was at risk and that people were after him. He also stated he killed the children because they were better off dead than alive without parents. Ermelinda's family had also reported her missing on Tuesday, September 19th. Before the pair fled Illinois, she had texted a family member stating, I love you, take care of my grandbabies. And her family thought that Nathaniel originally had kidnapped Ermelinda. The two end up traveling over 600 miles to Catoosa, Oklahoma, where they were tracked down. On September 20th, a license plate reader in Catoosa flagged their vehicle. The police were also able to identify the two since an alert was issued to other law enforcement agencies. I'm sure this was like a bolo, a be on the lookout. They're seen on their surveillance in Walmart, just casually shopping for electronics and in the makeup aisle. As they leave the store, seen smiling, the police make an attempt to pull them over. Rather than stopping, Nathaniel and Ermelinda led officers on a high-speed chase. The pursuit ended in a crash when they hit another vehicle and then hit the highway barriers. Ermelinda and Nathaniel's car then burst into flames. As officers approached the wrecked car, they heard 2 gunshots from inside. It was also reported they heard 2, however, it's also stated apparently Nathaniel had shot Ermelinda before turning the gun on himself. The first time he shot himself underneath the chin, and that did not kill him. So he shot himself in the head again. Nathaniel died at the scene, while Ermelinda was rushed to the hospital where she later died from her injuries. Ermelinda had 5 children and 5 grandchildren from previous relationships. Nathaniel was the father of 3 children who were also from previous relationships. And now I want to go over some things that had come out during the investigation as well that I thought were worth noting and mentioning. The police had also uncovered numerous threats and warnings to the family in the months leading up to the murders. Many individuals knew about it but never actually reported it to the police. Less than 5 months before the murders, Ermelinda contacted Zoraida's husband, Alberto, to let him know his wife was cheating on him with her fiancé. One of the threats, she tells Alberto, quote, "I don't believe she believes my warnings, and for the safety of your family, she really needs to be honest with you. Nathaniel has rifles and guns he carries with him. The mother of your children is putting them in danger, and she knows this." Then allegedly, Alberto is pissed off like, what the f***? My wife is cheating? He allegedly damages the tires on Nathaniel's vehicle, but then later sent him a letter and paid him back for the damaged tires, demanding that he end his relationship with his wife. But honestly, I don't know. This really sounds like something Ermelinda would do. And on August 19th, one of the texts sent to Nathaniel talks about cutting tires. Then, less than 2 weeks before the incident, Ermelinda sends another message to Alberto. Quote, "This will be the last I say of this, Alberto. The stupid girl will be the reason you have no children." Zoraida apparently had told a coworker about the threats and said that she was scared. But again, nothing was ever reported to the police. In the aftermath of the murders, the true extent of Ermelinda's manipulation was revealed. Over the years, she had built an intricate web of lies, creating multiple online personas and convincing Nathaniel that he was somehow in the cartel. What drove her to such lengths remains unclear, but the consequences of her actions were tragically evident in the deaths of Zoraida, Alberto, and their children. Their innocent children. It kind of makes you wonder what the full story is with the couple, Nathaniel and Ermelinda. I mean, he truly believed he was a part of the cartel, and I don't know. You can't help but question, why would he believe he was in the cartel or some crime organization when he had never officially met anyone? He also never got paid for anything. This is not my personal opinion, but a lot of people seem to think Nathaniel was very unintelligent, for a lack of better words. I really, myself, have no words for this case. I think there's possibly more to the story that maybe we don't know. She was 18 years his senior, and maybe he's just a little gullible. Maybe you don't know, maybe he's been just so manipulated to the fact that, he has no way to distinguish between what's real and what's not. Maybe it's all just real to him. I don't know. If that makes any sense, I don't know. While the answers may never fully be understood, what remains clear is the devastating impact of this senseless tragedy. Families had to mourn a son, a daughter, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, plan for 4 funerals all at the same time. It's incredibly sad. A family member of Zoraida stated they had just purchased their first home. They were so happy to finally be able to afford their own place, and they only got to live there 6 months. Both parents worked so hard to raise these kids. They were such amazing kids who would run to your side and hug you if they felt you were sad about anything. The world is going to be a little dimmer because they were such amazing, kind, and loving people. I'll miss them until my last dying breath. The neighbors described the family as quiet and polite. Alberto and Zoraida, they did not own any firearms. And thank you so much for joining me today. This case leaves us a lot to think about, and I appreciate you being here to unpack it together. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Until next time, take care and stay safe.